Welcome to another edition of Plugin Police. This is just a small reaction on the video of Paul III, the Scottish YouTuber. We need to talk about plugin piracy and a bunch of points that he makes over here about plugin piracy, but actually a little bit more what this story goes about. It's about software companies protecting their intellectual property and their plugins by all sorts of software centers that you have to install. And most of them, I agree totally with Paul about that, are totally bloated. And some of them, Native Instruments, for example, have the suspicion that they even install a rootkit on it, because I removed everything from my Windows PC that was native access related and Traktor related, all the software from them, removed everything from the registries, turned my computer off, went offline, turned my computer on and reinstalled, and all the plugins automatically got reactivated when I didn't even have the Service Center or any Native Instruments software installed in my computer anymore. When I installed them without having a Native Access Service Center, they automatically got reactivated, especially Traktor. So they run some sort of a rootkit over there, something that stays behind on your hard drive. Not like Windows activation, where the activation goes through your serial number of your motherboard and then nothing stays in your hard drive, and only when you go online they verify if that motherboard was already activated, that serial number, and like that you get activated by just verifying the serial number of your motherboard. They don't leave any, they don't have any rootkit running on your hard drive, so they have a very non-intrusive system. But Paul is totally right about that, and it's also about bloated. You have so many software centers now, and all of them are extremely bloated, and most of them are constantly making updates, big updates, and you get every week. I get them from Isotope and from Native and from, you know, they're all the time. But there's nothing being really bug fixed or features added or anything like that. These are mostly just updates for security reasons, and especially if you see even the size also of all those plugin centers, and it's so many, and then it's iLock, and then Native needs to activate itself, and they also constantly have that also constantly, and it's actually totally frustrating, you know. Is constantly I have to re-log in for all my plugin, and I've in several different ones, you know, even of Waves Audio and of man, I got so many. I'm talking about the paid ones, and Paul is really correct about that. First of all, there's so many free plugins today that you don't need to commit piracy. Good plugins. I agree with that completely, you know. But I also agree with the point he makes over there that a real paid user, somebody that pays really for his plugins, you know, has a dreadful experience with his plugins, with the updates and the constantly needing to log in, and huge file sizes, bloated software centers, and plugins that are enormous, that shouldn't be that big at all, you know. And it's really true, you know. The consumer, the customer, is being penalized, being punished for that 3% of those blokes out there still who are, or 5% or 10%, however much it is, you know. Probably in the Western, more expensive countries, it's maybe between 10 to 15% of people who still pirate their plugins or their movies or something. And then maybe in more poorer countries, those numbers go up to maybe 30 or 40%, you know. But then again, it's also proven that piracy is also many times a distribution issue, and because people cannot get access to the things, or it's all too expensive, you know. And it's also proven that most people who commit piracy would have never bought the software in the first place, even if they could afford it. So you know, they were never they would if they couldn't pirate it, they would never buy it. So they would never be potential customers. So in another way, you know, companies, they make that argument that they are losing money, but you're not losing money if the people who commit piracy would have never bought it, even if they could afford it, you know. So, you know, that argument is a little bit difficult also, but yeah, Paul is totally right about that, you know. It's mostly harming actually the users of it, and all these software centers also. It's now so many, and so many activations, so many times logging in, and many times I'm over here producing something, the only bloody thing I get is all sorts of updates that are protesting that I have to log in again or I have to update them, or the software center is constantly updating. I get for even and then the argument also free plugins. Listen, free plugins actually is true. There are many of them that I have less problems with. Than with the ones that are paid ones, and it's all a little bit complicated. Also, is because you have to leave everywhere your email. So the free ones many times also not free because you write yourself in to get the free software. You have to give your email, and you receive your email box is full of ads all the time and of promotions of them and of emails trying to sell you plugins. So it's many times not really so free. Also, there's some exceptions. So there's some free plugin manufacturers who don't do that. But yeah, it's actually becoming really dreadful. And I tell you something, the strange thing is that I find the most intrusive ones are the ones of Native Instruments and the ones of Waves Audio and the ones of Isotopes. The most expensive ones are actually the most intrusive ones. And for example, Plugin Alliance's Plugin Manager is a lot less intrusive and a lot less times that I have issues with it. Waves also, for example, Waves doesn't come out with so many updates, and with them some updates you have to buy also. But Waves I find by itself just extremely unstable. I have many times issues and crashes with Waves plugins or not responsive plugins. So I don't know what kind of code they're running over there, but But the conclusion of this is that. There could be much better, much less intrusive ways of doing DRM or direct right management to protect your intellectual property and your software. Then I think that there are better ways. I mean, you see many other software programs that also have a key activation or something, but you're not constantly with updated and huge files and huge installations all the time going on, and all the time being actually hindered in your work. I mean, I'm just constantly have issues with the amount of plugin managers that I have. So yeah, it's very complicated. That the old days are gone. We don't want to go into a subscription-based thing, but we are actually already being pulled into a sort of a subscription-based model. It's because we need to all the time be with a service center and being activated and being actualized and constantly updating the actual service center, the software of the application itself, for example, native access, and then all the time updating your plugins, all the time need to re-log in. And basically, we already sort of, with our paid perpetual licenses, we are already sort of dragged into a subscription model, at least that we are all the time in their control. And they're all the time verifying also for piracy. So, in other words, they don't trust any of their clients, not even their paid clients ones. It's a little bit the same story with video games many years ago. The DRM copy protection and direct rights management went so far that people's computers were completely bloated, and they were even how do you call that? Running rootkits and stuff over there, and made broke drives and made CDs unplayable on your computer after you installed the game because of Star Force, for example. That was a thing that installed the rootkit on kernel level, on O-ring 00 or 1 level, and that was just a complete rootkit running over there. And it even disabled your CD players, and you couldn't even install or run games with the original CD in the drive if you had 2 DVD drives or DVD recorders or a virtual drive active in your PC. There was also a big scandal, was that the direct right management, but now the plugin companies are doing the same as Steam or Origin or Uplay or what's the other ones, Epic Games. You're all the time running their software center, and it also time needs to be activated, and you're all the time being controlled. So. There you go. Only with the plugins, I think it's getting even worse and worse and worse. I mean, I see really plugins that are extremely bloated. They have file sizes for what they are. That's completely crazy. That for what it is. I'm not talking about that they include samples or instrument packs or something. I'm just talking about plain installations. They're enormous. So, but there you go. And this is also why we all the time need faster computers and more hard drive space because of these shenanigans. Because you see that also with video games. You have now the latest Call of Duty video game came out. It's a 4-hour campaign, and it has a multiplayer component on it also. And it's 250 gigabytes. And in 2016, that game was still coming out with 40 gigabytes, And there's here and there a little graphical improvement, but most of it just bad programming. Everything is extremely bloated, and people need to now install, I think it's to play the free Call of Duty Warzone, they need to install now some application that the application itself, the software center is like 60 gigs or something, if I remember well. So it's getting completely crazy, This is a lazy programming, and most of it is just software centers, and to keep you in their control, and to all the time keep on protecting their software and their intellectual property. And it's actually today you buy even original software. We're not talking here about subscriptions or something like that. Software that you buy, but you buy actually the software within a glass jar, and they are all the time you're showing you the glass jar, but you are now never really the owner of what's inside of it. And whenever they feel like it, they're going to take away. That's also the problem of this software preservation. In the future, any of these software centers goes down, or the companies go out of business, and your plugins stop working unless they, I don't know, host it on another plugin provider or something, their competition. But I'm not really seeing that. The proof is that in video games, there are many video games are unplayable today, is because they just went offline, and the original copies had such advanced copy protection systems in it that even Ubisoft and a couple of other companies have lately released games on Steam where they have the cracked versions running on it. And they sell them on Steam with the cracks on it. So they are pirated versions, but they have to do that because the software protection is so advanced that they need to do the whole game over, basically. So it's for them not worth it to take away all the DRM, the software protection, the anti-piracy protection. If they need to take that all away, that would be a complete disaster to do. So what they just do is they literally just sell the pirated version with a pirated executable on it on Steam. There's several games. Rockstar games have a couple of games that have that also in it. Of AAA. Games, so big franchises, and so there you can see, and that software preservation, all these plugins in a couple of years, and whenever they feel like it, they just delist it. They do it with games also. They just delist them, and you bought game, it's not playable anymore, or the online component is being taken away, or doesn't have actualizations anymore, or the actual software center just goes down. And so for I call it plugin preservation also, we are looking to a very grim future where they, whenever it suits them or whenever have a new product coming out, they can just flip the switch and there you go, So it's all a little bit... you don't own nothing anymore, but you need to sort of still be happy and have them intrusive in your computer system and bloat up everything to prevent those other people who can't afford it or don't want to pay it or would never buy it in the first place. And that's really a big shame, Also, all these softwares that are and plugins that are dependent on constant. Oh yeah, I can tell you a good one of that was SoundBridge who pulled that off. They had a free version. Then all of a sudden they went commercial. SoundBridge, the free users, couldn't use the software anymore, only with 8 tracks. And Rhythmix was taken away from them. It was for free. And the Record Arpeggiator was taken away. It was for free. And you know, and there you can just see, you know, that, and there you need to all the time also log in. Every time you were opening that asked for a login, you know. So you were constantly, you needed to be online for that and logging in. And whenever they feel like it, they just flip the switch, you know. So there we are with plugins and video games and many software. So the big problem is, of course, they want to all push people to subscription services, you know. And the subscription services sort of then you keep on subscribing and paying monthly, and then your older things they get outdated and you can't use them anymore. They get delisted. But then because you are then in a subscription thing, then you all the time get the newest versions of newer plugins and newer software. You know, and the idea is a little bit that, you know, to make actually perpetual licenses obsolete. And these software centers are already pushing people that do not have a subscription to already also sort of be in a subscription, and that they all the time control you. They're all the time protecting still the product that they sold to you that is not really yours. You know, it's like today you buy an electronical device, you know, and in the old times, before the 1980s, you got an owner's manual because you were the owner of that electronical device or instrument. Today, you get a user's manual because you are the user of the device. You're not the owner anymore. In old user's manuals of electronic devices, there were schematics in there with part lists, with pages with part lists, with all the capacitors and all the resistors, and you could just yourself, and then a schematic on it, and you could just yourself find the resistors and the capacitors, and then there was another page where they set the values of the capacitors, or it was already printed on the schematic, and you could just yourself fix it, you know, because you were the owner of that thing, so it was yours. But today things are not like that anymore, and I find that a very grey and dark future we are going to. But that's my small remark on it. I know I go a little bit flying over 7 different subjects at the same time, but I think that they're all a little bit related. So there you go. Until the next time, stay safe, take care, and I'll see you next time.